Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris and I'm a gorilla in the wrist. Today we're looking at this Tandorio and asking, does it pull off the madness that it's portraying? Let's crack on. Chris. So this is the Tandorio watch that I picked up in the last AliExpress sale. Paid about 36 quid for it, so not a huge amount of money. It comes in 3 different colours. It also comes in a blue and a rather sumptuous red. I have to admit I was tempted by the red, but ended up going with this because I don't have many green watches in my collection. So let's do a quick walk around. The watch comes on a fairly basic canvas 2-piece NATO strap. It is a decent quality and it is a decent size. And I do like the fact that the finishing on the buckle does match the finishing on the case, which is all very heavily brushed. The case finishing is almost exclusively brushed. The only places where it isn't, very strangely, is in between the lugs, and then sort of the mid-lower case. There's a bit of high polish finishing, and on the back on the lugs as well. And whilst we're here, let's just very quickly talk about the back of the case, because they've actually done it really, it's very strange, they've done this really well. So it has a few concentric circles, it has a little bit of a mix of brushed and polished finishes. It says stainless steel, water resistant 200 meters, sapphire crystal, automatic movement. And then there's the crown. Oh dear Lord. This is huge, an absolutely enormous crown. Quite possibly the biggest crown I've ever seen on a watch. It's a vintage style onion crown, and it does screw down. So this watch claims to have 200 meters of water resistance. Case bracket is screwed down, crown is screwed down, and all of this is topped off with a really nice domed sapphire crystal. Very impressive in terms of that. Let's very quickly talk about the dial. So this is where this watch's lunacy starts to really kick in. But we'll start with the good stuff. The colour of the dial is sensational. It's a beautiful emerald green, and manages to maintain both sunburst effect and a vignette effect. It's just gorgeous. The colour absolutely sings. From then on in, we get into a very mixed bag. So we kind of have subby style indices all the way around it. There's a date complication at the 3 o'clock with a really nice framed polished window. There are just simple batten indices at the 6 and the 9, a triangle at the 12, and then round indices all the way around the rest of the watch. We have SKX style hour and minute hands, and they are big. I mean really big. The minute hand has a really nice pop of orange around the outside of it, and even the hour hand stretches right out to the indices. I'd probably call those oversized. And the second hand is really nice, a really long needle second hand, stretches right the way out to almost the outer case, with quite a nice little lollipop counterbalance, which I think works really well. And in terms of the text on the dial, we have Tandorio and the Tandorio logo above the pinion, and automatic, water resistant 200 meters below the pinion, and all topped off with this really nice sapphire crystal which distorts at the edges. So let's quickly run through the specifications, and I have to confess a few of these aren't quite right. So the dial width is actually closer to 36 millimeters, and the lug to lug is closer to 42. The lug width is on the smallish side at 18 millimeters, and this is quite a chunky watch at 14 millimeters. It houses the NH35 movement, weighs in at about 100 grams, has 200 meters of water resistance, and a particularly nice piece of domed sapphire crystal. And just look at the colour. I actually managed to get the colour to pick up properly in this one. So let's talk about the things I'm really not sure about with this watch. And the first one I'll start off with is really the size, and I can't really blame the watch for this. The size is a problem for me because I'm a gorilla, not because it's just too small. However, it is relatively small at sort of 35, 36 millimetres, so you need to be aware of that. Some of that is compensated for by the enormous crown. I mean, properly enormous crown. The second thing I'm not a big fan of on this watch is the strap. So it's perfectly functional, but it kind of does the job, but that's about all. It doesn't add anything to the overall package. And I will be sticking it on a different strap at the end of this section so that you can see what it looks like on a decent NATO, for example. But the big challenge with this one is that it really doesn't know what it wants to be. So it's got the hands off of a dive watch, it's got indices off a dive watch, but it has a date window which is off a more dressier watch. It's got an onion crown which I really like, but not something you'd normally find on a dive watch. And the strap just screams field watch to me. So this one genuinely does have a personality disorder. It really doesn't know what it's trying to be, which is such a shame. So let's talk about the things that I like about this watch. So I think the first thing I like, and I've kind of alluded to this, well I haven't alluded to it, I've outright said it, that dial and dial colour and style are just amazing. To say that it pops would be quite possibly the biggest understatement I've ever made on this channel. They've done something really clever, which is to get a beautiful colour, to get a really decent sunburst, and apologies, I'm not doing it any credit at all. I'm struggling to catch the sunburst, but believe me, it's there. And the vignette effect as well just works really well. The other thing that's quite interesting, does make this look tidy, although maybe less practical, is that there's no second track around the outside of it. I had to look 2 or 3 times to think maybe it was in a dark colour and you can't see it. The second thing I really like about it is that onion crown, that huge onion crown, probably too big for the watch to be absolutely honest, but it is firm, it's easy to grip on a small watch, and I think it does look genuinely interesting. It is one of those observations of this watch is that it kind of reminds me of the young boy who gets lots of hand-downs, obviously has 5 or 6 elder brothers, and his parents said there's nothing wrong with that jacket, you can wear that one in a couple of years time, and therefore as a consequence everything it's wearing looks slightly too big for it because it's not quite grown into it. And that's the case with this. I think this one hasn't quite grown into its hands yet, clearly hasn't grown into its crown yet, and so I'm thinking that maybe in a couple of years this will absolutely bloom, and quite possibly go from slightly ugly duckling to rather elegant swan. What do you think? And then the final thing I like about it is that at this price it is a bit of a spec monster. I mean, NH35 movement, domed sapphire crystal, great big onion crown. There's a lot going on here, and for that money that really does seem really good value, if you can get past its oddities. So just to prove that this would work on different strap, this isn't quite right, the colour's not quite right, but you get the general idea. I think this works really well on that sort of seatbelt style, slightly silky NATO style strap. So we're going to have a go at summarising this one, and this isn't easy, bear with me. I am confused by this watch. I suspect I'm as confused about this watch as it is about its own identity and what it is trying to do. I don't know if this is homaging a watch that I've never come across before. It's entirely possible it is. It's certainly homaging about 20 watches that I've come across. And that lack of a coherent design voice does make it an oddity. But there's something about this that I love. I can't tell you what it is. I can't put my finger on. I don't know if it's that mongrel effect, but this watch has something. It certainly has one of the most attractive dials I have ever seen on a watch. It is, and I am so sorry that I'm not doing it any justice because there's a lot of reflection on here, but take my word for it, the colour, the sunburst effect is amazing. Now, that doesn't get you past quite a few of its flaws, like the mishmash of it, like the fact that the strap is a bit on the cheap and effective but not particularly attractive. But those things can be fixed. The size is a challenge for me. You know, I'm a gorilla. Wearing something at 35, 36mm can be done, as the Seiko SNK proves. However, it's a very fine dividing line. But for all that, this has got something. And I will be keeping this in my collection. And I would recommend it to you. Just know what you're getting yourself into. Get a decent strap for it, because this one ain't up to much, to be absolutely honest. And so that's my slightly surprising conclusion, is that, does it pull off the madness? Yeah, I think it does. Just an interesting watch. That's it for today. Lots of good stuff coming up. Please like and subscribe. Please take the time to drop a comment. I always appreciate your thoughts on the watches that I've looked at. Other than that, it's Sunday today. I'm a day later than I'd normally be. Just wanted to wish you a fantastic rest of the weekend, as much as left of it. It's gloriously and sunny here in the UK, so I'm looking forward to enjoying that before the rain kicks back in tomorrow. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.